everyone. I'm Jack. I'm going to try and moderate this very, very intelligent, well-educated panel to the best of my abilities. I'm absolutely honored to share the stage with each and every one of you. You've all got very illustrious careers, illustrious academic backgrounds, and I'm just a guy. And that's exactly why I love the Solana ecosystem, because it brings together the brightest minds and the rest of us. And I think this is going to be a very eye-opening conversation. There seems to be a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty around the idea of what AI is going to become. And there seems to be a lot of shadows on what AI is right now. So before we start, I want to do a very, very quick round of intros. What are you all working on? And in as few words as possible, what's the AI component? We'll start on this side.
Sure. Thank you. I'm Arif. I'm the founder and CEO of Alethea. And I've been in the intersection of crypto and AI for the past 7 years. First as the Chief Marketing Officer of SingularityNet. This was during 2017 to 2019. And then I started Alethea AI almost 5 years ago now. With a really interesting idea that substrate, the general substrate that you'll need for generative AI, the explosion of content that is going to emerge as AI proliferates, you'll need a substrate to verify, authenticate content, right? So that was the original idea and thesis. And we pioneered back in the day the INFT standard, an intelligent NFT that can talk to you, interact with you, engage with you. And be able to be authenticated on chain as well. So today we're focused heavily on agents or AIs that can coordinate and communicate on chain and evolve into networked intelligence. So there's been an evolution for us as well.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Yash. I'm the co-founder of SendAI. We hosted the largest crypto AI hackathon called Solana AI Hackathon, and now we are building the tooling layer for AI agents. So we have a toolkit called Solana Agent Kit, which is the most used toolkit in crypto. And we also have our own MCP server, which was one of the first MCP servers in crypto. And now we are building the MCP infra and also continue building the tooling layer for AI agents.
Thanks, Arif. Hi, I'm Vatsal. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Apta, which is an AI spin-out from the University of Cambridge. And we're building Chitoshi, the orange logo somewhere. Okay, not there anymore. So Chitoshi, which is basically a one-point access for all your crypto needs. So kind of like the ChatGPT, but for crypto, and far much more than that. And before that, I did my PhD at the University of Cambridge in AI.
Thank you very much. I want to start, just dive straight in here to the burning question and go straight to the core of it. Why on earth are we building autonomous systems? Are we essentially just abstracting difficult things away to technology clusters that we don't want to do? Is it basically just a glorified washing machine? Or is there something really that we're missing in terms of what AI is right now and what it can unlock, specifically in the context of AI and crypto? Let's start on this side as well, please.
Okay, I think the inherent need, that's a great question. The inherent need to improve systems has always been part of the human story, from us being cavemen or trying to make sense of this insane world that requires us to have a lot of context that we take in. We try and create systems and tools and processes, and we advance in our civilizations, right? So we've moved from like agrarian-based economies to like industrial. The next stage is really this autonomous age or this hybrid machine age, whatever you want to call it, where your currency is digital, your intelligence is digital, then what is human, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's an imperative, a drive, a moral drive that people have, or an imperative that people have, that they want to advance the tooling that we have in order to deal with this world. It's sort of a philosophical answer, but from a crypto standpoint, the key part that we're excited about is how do we make this useful for each person in this room? How can your AI agents mean something to you in a way that is meaningful throughout your entire life? And that's I think where value creation will occur a lot more than we've seen before.
Just before I'm going to hop in here, I know you've been quite vocal about this idea of why people actually, deploy capital into this space. So maybe you have a slightly contrarian take on the philosophical part of that previous response.
So I think so there's two ways to approach it. One is like, will AI agents need crypto, or will crypto needs AI agents? So I think like these are the two main things to answer. On first, and like if crypto needs AI agents, I believe that like bots are already an integral part of crypto. Right now, like I would say like more than 20-30% of the transactions, or even much more than, are happening via bots. It can be like even like trading bots like BongBot and Trojan Horse and all of that, or maybe like some sniping bot and all the different bots deployed by people. So I think like now it's time to make bots much more intelligent, and AI agents are a way. Obviously, they are not still here. I would say there's still some infra level improvement which needs to be done when this bot start becoming more intelligent and starts acting autonomously. But I think like it would be a progressive thing, not like okay, like we'll get like AI agents suddenly. So it's all about that we start making them more and more intelligent over time. And now if like AI agents actually need crypto, I think the concept of wallet is very powerful. That if an AI agent has a wallet, it can then transact across like multiple protocols. And let's say if we plug something like Cast or some like kind of crypto cards, then it can also buy buy across the entire internet. So I think like overall the concept of wallet is pretty interesting, because now AI agents can send, receive, even launch tokens, like raise capital. So I think like huge lot of possibilities are there, because again, like in traditional rails, they have to go via the API limits of different banks, then obviously KYC limits, and also that is something which is not natively programmable, but something like crypto or blockchains are natively programmable. So I think like that is again a far-fetched thing. I would say still 1 to 2 years before we see actual AI agents needing crypto. But I think right now it would be more about like how do we make crypto bots much more intelligent, and I think like that would be a progressive journey over the next 1-2 years.
So we've had a very philosophical answer, we've had a very practical response. I'm curious, from an academic perspective, does that fit into the way you view this vision that we have of AI x crypto?
I think to me, terminology is very important because everyone's using the word agent, and I'd like to define what we mean by agent, because I think we abuse the word a lot. Everyone calls a function an agent. Agent, and to me, is something which does some form of agency. So I guess we can synonymize that autonomy. And its function in the crypto space, I think we can divide into two main brackets. One is kind of automating these mundane tasks everyone can do. And then there's the second layer beyond that of actually deriving insights which are not accessible by the common person. So to me, the exciting part of the application of AI and the agents in the crypto space is kind of this democratization of AI to everybody. So something which was maybe before ring-fenced for like an elite few who have those technical skills, maybe programming skills or economic skills to actually derive insights and make better informed decisions, is now becoming more and more easily accessible to the everyday user. You can go from like being a newbie to a very experienced trader in a very short amount of time compared to perhaps 10 years ago. So that I think is the real, I guess, exciting part of AI in the crypto space.
Interesting. You made me think there of the original ethos of crypto, right? Of this decentralized financial systems that essentially anyone in the world can access with simply an internet connection, be your own bank, and sort of disintermediate and alleviate some of the stresses of the systems that exist. And I'm curious, if we think about AI, if we think about agent clusters, if we sort of accelerate that thought process into the near future, is the proliferation of agentic AI in crypto helping us get towards that original ethos, live that original ethos of crypto, or are we going to have to sort of reconfigure things in light of that?
I think it's a very relevant question today, and to Vatsal's point about defining an agent, and to Yash's point about bots on chain, right? So think of the evolution, right? So bots, which are simple transaction-based applications, buy, sell, up, down, spreads, whatever you need to do to run a transaction. Those are bots. What Vatsal's talking about is agents that are autonomous. That means they don't necessarily need your input. They are functioning without your direct interference all the time. They have a container of logic that they function in, but they can sometimes even go outside of that container of logic. So there is an autonomy of free will component there. Free will used loosely a little bit, but the fact that these agents can do very interesting things is going to be relevant, right? But the third part is from bots to agents to now I think what's coming is swarms or coordinated intelligences. And coordinated intelligence is when agents can communicate with each other. What's happening is that you have an entire centralized layer today that the crypto stack is built on decentralized rails largely, right? If you factor out the AWS front ends. But the intelligence layer is largely built on centralized guardrails today. So to your point or to your question about whether we are headed towards a more democratic, decentralized future, we are presently and currently heavily reliant on centralized infrastructure and centralized ecosystems for our AI models, for our AI compute resources. There are solutions that are emerging, but I think like it's tilted slightly towards, it's almost like a poison pill. It's moving in the direction of centralized control. But there are some very interesting experiments that I was talking to Yash about earlier that are emerging, not experiments, but more mature now, like MCP protocol, which provides sort of a unified layer for agents to coordinate and communicate. Interestingly enough, also built by a centralized company, right? So centralized companies are understanding the value of open source. That's going to be a real change for them to understand this business model. But whether it moves crypto and AI in the direction of decentralization, that depends on the builders in the space.
Do we generally agree with that sort of, I'd say, fairly optimistic take on whether or not AI is going to decentralize things any further? Do you have any contrarian takes on that? I want to open it up to both of you.
Yeah, I think AI wouldn't like decentralize any of the tech or anything. Like obviously one thing can be like AI agent starts becoming validators and it, or maybe like they start even acting as like clients and all of that. Again, like that is something a bit far-fetched. But I would say the main thing which AI agents can accelerate for blockchains is like the composability part, that AI agents can act as a very good composable actors here. Even like MCP, for example, MCP is like a very good example of how a composable open protocol looks like. So I think like, and it's like, it came from a centralized actor, but it's very much composable and open protocol, just like Solana or any different blockchains are. So I think like, AI agents could be a very good force for making crypto in general much more composable, where AI agent can transact across the entire chain and then also across different chains, and also like now as a human I can't like go and compose with like lot of protocol, but AI agents can compose across a lot of protocols. So I think like AI agents won't like accelerate decentralization, but it can definitely accelerate composability and other ethos of original vision of crypto.
But so you've got a very eloquent way of sort of reducing these arguments. So I'm going to sort of tie this into MCP in a second, and the universal language that was touched on, that in my understanding allows these clusters to communicate with each other in a way with the universal language that the rest of us can understand. But if you could sort of simplify that, package it, and I'm curious if you agree with those two takes as well.
Sure. I'll get onto MCP in 1 second. Just to follow on from the point I think Yash and Arif mentioned, I think like any other application, AI is a double-edged sword. And especially in a space like crypto, we've already seen something which is meant to be a good thing has clearly been tarnished a lot by a lot of bad players in the industry, and AI runs the same risk. So I don't think we can just charge in like bull into the China shop and hope for the best. We have to have guardrails and protection in place to make sure there's no abuse of the technology. Like one simple example is most AI functions or models out there, especially if they're based on like deep learning neural network type architectures, they can have what we call like mathematical weaknesses in them. And they're very prone to what we call adversarial attacks. And if people who know how to abuse them can maliciously use these models for their own benefit rather than the greater good of the community. So I think we have to have a good level of education in the community to understand what these AI functions are capable of, not hype, but realism into what they actually can do, and also understand the dangers so that the correct protection can be put in place. So to tie back to MCP, which I think ties in very nicely with how AI agents can be applied to this space. So just to bring everyone on the same page, I think in November 2024, Anthropic released this concept of MCP, which was basically, I think it stands for Model Context Protocol. And what they said was that lots of large language models are being created every day, and lots of people are interfacing these large language models with external, what we call agents, which are capable of doing specific purposes, or with external data sources. But there seemed to be no standard. Everything was very fragmented, everyone building their own method of how LLMs can interact with data or different agents. And also, there's a second kind of barrier. LLMs were great at the task, but they can't access proprietary data sources. And many companies are like, we're not really comfortable giving our data to any third-party company. We want to keep the data to ourselves. This is specifically applicable to the crypto space because people are very big on privacy and you don't want to let your data out to any other person because there's no reason why you would necessarily trust them. So the concept of MCP was, how can we basically unify the interaction between models and external agents or data? So they say we should come up with a protocol so that if any third-party builder wants to build some kind of agent, they should abide by this protocol, which will allow their agent to interact with this, I guess you can call like mothership LLM. And another aspect of this is that the agent can run on the own enterprise's server. They maintain the data on their server, they run the agent on their server, and it's just a communication with this third-party LLM, which maintains their privacy of the data. So I think it's a very good application in the crypto space, where people can develop crypto agents as separate companies, but just allow a common communication language between the different agents.
I want to tie all of that into what this really means as us, people that are participants in the Solana ecosystem and crypto at large. Specific to MCP, do we feel that there's a consensus around it being the best breakthrough or the most exciting breakthrough in terms of dealing with some of the risks that we're facing in this industry? Or is there something else happening technologically that we should be really, really excited about?
Yeah, I think it's the first mover in terms of providing a lingua franca for AI. It's just like all of us are speaking English, courtesy of the British who conquered a large part of the world, right? And some of you who don't speak English, you have the translators at the back end, those devices that are translating this into Turkish. So that communication allows the transference of ideas. But this is the first mover. I think MCP and Google has released its A2A. But again, I point back to the fact that these are large centralized companies releasing open protocols for us to build on. And I think there has to be, the question that I think is really exciting and where the value creation is going to be exponential is, what is an on-chain version of MCP? Do we need an on-chain version of MCP? Does everything need to be tokenized? Do context to windows need to be converted into NFTs? We need to think about the value capture of translating assets in this entire communication infrastructure and how we can enable users or individuals, people who are participating in these networks, to benefit from MCP, right? So it's going to be tricky if you're just plugging in your AI agents and are able to share context windows, but it's also going to become difficult to scale when your context windows are extremely sensitive data sets that you don't want to share. So you're going to need sort of a hybrid to operate, and I don't think the solution is fully out there, but I think it's a bold first mover play, and there's going to be many more that come to market.
Overall net positive, do we sort of agree with that?
Yeah, I think let's speak particularly Solana. For example, when we released our MCP server, it was a combination of 13, 14 tools. It had swap functionality, anyone can launch a token and so on. And what that allowed was like, so let's say if you are in Cloud Desktop, you can just like configure that MCP, and then you have your own wallet, like which you can input as a private key, and then like you can just like start entering the prompts, and the Cloud Desktop will start performing Solana transactions for you. So here you can see like MCP was a good UX unlock, that now from Cloud Desktop you can start taking Solana transaction and all via natural language prompt. And I think like here right now the MCP clients are very less in number, but when we start seeing like lot of MCP clients, for example, Perplexity can be one MCP client, even let's say Google becomes one MCP client, then what we can have is like, we would have like lot of Solana MCP servers, or in general crypto MCP servers, and it can also act as a very good onboarding tool or a UX tool where anyone can just start putting natural language prompts, and they can then start interacting with like maybe like buying meme coins or doing all sorts of random transactions. So I think like it's a good UX unlock, and it's also a very good distribution unlock where we can access very traditional distributions like all the tech giants would eventually become a MCP client. So I think overall like it's a very positive thing for crypto, and whether it should be on-chain or off-chain, I think like off-chain completely works fine. And then the most on-chain part about crypto is the wallet. And if there's a wallet tied with each MCP server, that is like as a user I have a wallet which is tied to the MCP server, I think like I'm equally on-chain as compared to making an on-chain protocol, because at the end like you can't communicate via blockchain. It's always like very expensive to send any message via blockchain. So I think like even we don't need any layer 1 for AI agents or something like that. If there's a crypto wallet, we can do all things what we are supposed to do with crypto cross AI agents.
Is it a fair reduction to say that it's a sort of a parallel with interoperability then, to really reduce it? And are the benefits for us as users the same as benefits of interoperability, or if not, what are we missing?
I think, yeah, there's going to be lots of benefits from the adoption of things like these MCP servers and having a standard protocol. But I guess what I'm not nervous or I guess intrigued to see how it plays out is because in a decentralized world, if we are to make a crypto-specific version of MCP, who's going to make this protocol? There's going to be like another huge race that everyone creating their own protocols, which kind of defeats the point of why we're having a protocol. Everyone's just making their own standards. So I think I'm a bit intrigued to see how it's going to play out and see what will be the final standard. I do think like in the same way we've got L1, L2 and new tokens are coming out every day with new, better, I guess, methods of how they handle the chains and whatnot. A similar type of thing we can expect to happen with the protocols themselves, in terms of what the standard itself will be. It won't be like tomorrow, the final protocol will be decided. It will evolve over time into what I hope is a better solution for all agents. But just touching back to, I think, your first question, if there's something better or bigger we should be excited towards, I think MCP is exciting, but I think the true power will come with data itself, because that is what's powering all our systems. And I do feel there's a huge untapped amount of resource in the crypto world, because there's literally petabytes of data which are not being used, or training models. Models are accessing this data, but it's not being used in a way which a model is being configured to properly understand the data in a way which can maybe bring about different insights from the data itself. So I think we're sitting on like a mountain of data. We just need to work out the way of how to process this data correctly in a way which can be managed by autonomous systems.
If I'm not mistaken, Yash, that sort of ties in nicely to what you're doing with Send, right? Sort of different applications of it across different industries. From what I understand, there's logistical applications, financial applications, healthcare even is in there. So let's tie all of that in together then. This universal communication language that we're developing, so agents and clusters can communicate with each other in a way that we mere mortal humans can also understand. And then how does that apply to the application of this technology across different industries?
So right now we are focusing more on the Solana ecosystem. That is like we integrated around 35 plus protocols. So all major Solana protocols are now integrated. And so we don't build anything on the framework layer or the model layer. For example, on frameworks, like it's compatible with most of the frameworks like LangChain, Vatsal AI and all of that. And the models, like it supports all sorts of model. So what it enables is like, let's say if any healthcare industry wants to do that, initially like we are relying on this concept of wallet, that if a healthcare industry or anything has a wallet, it can then do whatever transactions to it wants via interacting with different LLMs, and the agent kit would allow it to do that. So yeah, like it can transcend across like many industries, but the thing is like everyone should have a wallet. And then like I think like if we have to onboard anyone to crypto, they have to have a wallet. So I think like wallet is the primary, I would say, communication layer for us. And yeah, like for interacting with like other different, like let's say if we have to, for example, we also posted a demo where you can do Solana transaction via WhatsApp, and it was all possible via MCP, where we like plugged two MCPs. One was WhatsApp MCP and one was our own Solana MCP, and then we basically just chained both the MCPs and we could have interacted from WhatsApp to Solana. So I think like that was one thing which was possible via the MCP communication layer. So yeah, like we can use such types of communication. In fact, like we can even use Google A2A communications for agent to agent communications, but we ourselves aren't building any communication network. It's more under tooling layer of that side.
I can feel your passion coming through there. You really care about what you're building, which is super exciting to see. And I want to open the floor up to the both of you as well here. What are you working on? What's happened? What's been a technological breakthrough with your projects, either academically or practically, over the last 6 to 12 months that really made you think, okay, all this time and energy and effort and money is actually paying off and we're making progress?
Sure. So we're building Satoshi, and the idea of Satoshi is that you should be able to use natural language to pretty much ask any question you want in crypto. That includes like superficial, simple questions like information about a certain token, what was the all-time high, what was the recent 24-hour change for a certain token, ask about influencers. Then we have our second layer, which is the more interesting layer to me, which is the analytics layer. Now in natural language, you can start asking questions like, okay, what was the win rate of Alex Becker? This guy's been making loads of calls on YouTube, on Twitter, but we've actually backtested, and now in natural language can give you all the statistics. What's the average time it takes for this guy from when he makes a call to reach the peak for the token? What fraction of the calls were even successful? So you can do that for different influencers. You can ask more interesting questions from natural language like, can you tell me which meme coins are perhaps more than 80% down from the all-time high, but have increased by more than 10% in the last week, and have a market cap of at least 500 million? Because maybe even my naive trading strategy brain, that sounds like that's going to be a decent token. It's very far down from its peak. It's been increasing recently, so there's scope to increase further. Then I can go even further. I can ask questions like, okay, which tokens have been increasing or being mentioned the most right now on Twitter? So I think the technical challenge that we're overcoming, which I'll explain in a second how, is the fact that someone using just one point of access can access a huge, wealth of information just using natural language. So this is what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to be an expert to get this information. It's democratized so that anyone can access this information just using simple human language, which is all I think really possible because of this agentic structure, where we have a specific agent for each purpose. We have an influencer validator agent. We have a coin health score agent. We have a market history agent, which all communicate with our LLM, which just acts as the ears and the mouth of our system. The agents are the brain, and the LLM just takes the question, passes to the correct agent. The agent does the thinking, passes the output back to the LLM. The LLM is like, okay, this was the question. This is what my brain told me. Let me just write it in a nice way back to the user. So this is kind of the structure which has allowed us to be very scalable and comprehensive on lots of different data sources.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, somewhat similar, with the exception that if I could simplify why this conversation is relevant for everyone in this room is just think of the 3 C's. Okay, so there is cash in the ecosystem. You needed cash to be on chain, money. You needed liquidity on chain for this conversation to be relevant, right? So there is cash in the ecosystem. There's money flowing. A lot of money is existing and flowing on the Solana ecosystem and other ecosystems. Then there's compute, the raw power that you need to run these inferences that exists off-chain. Compute is there today with NVIDIA chips, with all the different solutions that you have out there. But the 3rd C is coordination. And that's the most exciting part, but also the highest risk part. This coordination layer of how we all speak, how we communicate with each other, how we as humans interact. You already know how much potential there is for miscommunication, right? Now imagine abstracting this out to billions of transactions per second across different chains with a context of protocol that you are not really familiar with. So this coordination layer is where I think a lot of value capture and opportunity is going to be created. The ability for someone to send money through WhatsApp, the ability for an agent to communicate with another agent to interact on social feeds. So I think all of this coordination layer is going to become really important. The data set part, I will say one thing that has been a breakthrough for us as we launched AI News Swarm recently, which is an agent on chain that that gives you real-time information. The data source that I think is going to be a big breakthrough in crypto is going to come from Grok, or it's going to come from Twitter because of the real-time nature of the Twitter newsfeed, right? So what are influencers talking about? That data is firewalled right now with Web 2 firewalls. Good luck breaking sort of the legal boundaries that they've set up, right? So we are now going to be reliant on a really strong Web 2 system to be able to get real-time influencer or real-time news data. That's going to be a tricky thing. But open source systems like Web3 blockchains, they can help support the coordination layer really well. And the coordination layer is where the problems are going to occur and where the value capture is going to be, I think.
Fascinating. You want to add something there? I saw the clock ticking.
I think like on the coordination layer, definitely I believe that, I just believe that like the coordination doesn't need to be on-chain. It can be at the wallet to wallet level because at the end, an agent is as strong as its wallet. So if the wallet has a lot of funds, then an agent is powerful. If the wallet is like doesn't have any funds, then it isn't powerful. So I think like, yeah, and wallet to wallet communication is essentially blockchain. So I think on the coordination layer, I believe that like we don't need like a lot of things on that layer. Obviously, like if the agents are social, then we would need like a lot of coordination between them. And I think like it would be then dependent upon the social graph of the social network, maybe like something like Instagram or whatever like social graph we are using. So I think like coordination is something like which I personally believe isn't like very much to solve right now. But I completely agree with all other points.
Clear. I want to sort of remind us all that AI and autonomous AI specifically is a very polarizing discussion, right? Some people like to focus on the opportunities that it creates. Other people like to focus on the risks that are maybe facing us right now or in the near future. So I want to ask you all for some hot takes on AI, maybe a contrarian take from each of you. I know people have come out and said agents should not control wallets and be given the sort of autonomy to make financial decisions. Do you have any hot takes on that within the context of AI and crypto in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I think the speed of networked agents is going to increase exponentially, and the amount of massive speculative capital is going to drive agents to do weird things on chain. So expect a lot more weirder accidents. I think agents hacking other agents, agents harming other agents, humans harming agents, agents benefiting humans. Like, it's going to become an entire ecosystem where there are thriving good actors that have been human actors, but there are also going to be really interesting negative agents out there that might actually harm the ecosystem. So buyer beware and caution, but at the same time, it's the most exciting time to build.
Yeah, I think in the next 6 months or 3 to 6 months, like we won't see like lot of action in AI agents across crypto. I think like it would be a silent, or maybe you can say like AI agents winter in crypto. But maybe after that, like we'll see a lot of things. The reason being that the infra is still getting built, and I would say like wave one of the crypto cross AI agents was something like more powered by speculation, and the infra wasn't there. In fact, like if you see, like they weren't like truly crypto cross AI agents, they were just AI agents which had a token. So I think now, and obviously there were like a lot of different frameworks. So I think like all the frameworks are by default dead in the next 3-6 months. And in fact, like if you see, like everyone is launching launch pads and no one is even focusing on frameworks now. So I think like the next 3-6 months would be like AI agents winter in crypto. But after that, like we'll see another wave 2 of crypto cross AI, and I think like that would be much more even speculative. And in that we'll see like a lot of on-chain agents like interacting with each other and so on. So I think like I'm pretty excited after the 6 months period of time.
I guess my hot take, just very quickly, would be that, as you correctly said, that there are risks with agents coming out, but with risk, there's also opportunity. And opportunity, I think, for a lot of people maybe looking to go into a new space or build something, is actually to be quite meta. If you can build agents which validate other agents, I think you onto something, because I think there will be a high demand, a big need for that to be in place, so that people can trust the agents coming into place.
Which is a tough one. I want to thank you all for sharing the stage with me. I'm humbled by how much you know about this, and thank you for explaining, sharing it all with us. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much.